Hi guys, I'm Andrew.
Hi, I'm Andy. Welcome again to our podcast, The Deco Mix. Today our guest is Guy Shockey from Vancouver.
So Guy's one of the highly rated GUE instructor trainers, hugely active in training instructors at technical and CCR level for GUE. He was fundamental in the development and the growth of one of the largest GUE communities in the world, which is GUE Seattle. Guy's one of those guys who's just got amazing stories, and every time you sit around with him, it's just fascinating to listen to. Today, we're going to be talking to him about one of his upcoming projects in conjunction with the Underwater Archaeological Society of British Columbia. We're really excited to listen to this because it's going to get us back into what we wanted to get into diving for, which is exploration, the adventure, the history, and looking at all these amazing wrecks they've got over there in Canada. So we hope you guys enjoy it as much as we're looking forward to it. So without further ado, let's introduce Guy to the Deco Mix podcast. Hi everyone, welcome back to our Deco Mix podcast. We're really excited today to have Guy Shockey from Vancouver in Canada here with us. Guy is an preeminent GUE instructor, examiner, instructor trainer, pretty much for everything. And Guy, we've heard about some interesting projects you've got going on or planning on coming up over there in Canada, and we're really excited to hear about it. So over to you, mate.
Hey, well, thanks for the invitation. I don't know about preeminent, and I heard that so many nice things you said about me. I must owe you money or something, or yeah. I can PayPal you. I don't know what it's going to be, but
we accept all forms of payment.
Yeah, great to see you. Great to see you, Andy.
Good to see you, Guy.
A couple awesome guys, the far side of the world, but you know, hopefully when the world gets sorted out, we can meet each other again someplace. Doesn't have to be your place, doesn't have to be my place. Last time it was Mexico. That was awesome. So yeah, looking forward to seeing you guys again in person. So thanks very much for the invitation. So the one thing you kind of hinted at that I wanted to say, there's a lot of kind of tangents that'll spin off of this, because ultimately what it is it's a collaborative type of project using some, you know, existing organizational structure with another really, really well-known organization, at least in British Columbia. And, you know, we just happen to be in the right place at the right time to work together. And so let me start out by asking you guys a couple of questions, so that, especially since Andy doesn't fall asleep. So let's start with Andy. So this is kind of this, and you'll see where I'm going to go with this, because this is where this all came from. Andy, why did you learn to dive? Why did you learn to dive? What did you want to do?
I wanted to explore things. I wanted to see things other people have not seen, basically. And the water always attracted me when I was young. So I wanted to get in the water and wanted to see how it feels underwater, the feeling underwater, seeing things other people haven't seen, experiencing things and exploring new things. That's basically the driver for me, why I wanted to dive.
Yeah. Okay. How about you, Andrew?
Well, I was 10 years old. And you know, that sort of your kid with the adventurous streak in you. And like Andy, I basically had a love of the water. I grew up on an island in the UK, and you were surrounded by water. If you did nothing with water, you were nothing, basically. Yeah. And you know, yeah, just the idea of exploring, the idea of the adventure, and also I have this innate love of history as well. So things like underwater, maritime history just really resonated with me. Yeah.
Well, okay. So both of you, I mean, I couldn't have done this any better if I had set you up. And for anybody else that watches this or listens to this, this was totally not planned, right? You didn't know I was going to ask you. Right. Okay. So, but here's the sad thing that happens. You, as a diver, a wannabe diver walks into a dive shop, and they walk in and they have like the reasons they're there, just like what you said. And so you walk into the dive shop, and the dive shop says, "Hey, can we help you?" And it's like, "Yep, I'd like to learn to dive." And then they don't ask any more questions, right? Yeah. Except like, "Are you available next Tuesday for a pool?" or, you know, whatever. But the problem is and so then you learn to dive, and so you take the open water diving class, and then it's like, okay, and then now what? It's like, well, we have another class for you, and then we have another class, but no one ever connected with the passion that brought you back into there to start with, right? And that, which is the reason why you learned to dive. Okay, yeah. So there are, and when you say exploration, I mean, for every person that climbs Mount Everest, there's 1,000 people climb a smaller mountain, and then 10,000 people climb a hill in the backyard. But, we watch things about like Sir Evan Hillary, or we watch people that climb other mountains around the world, and we go, it's like, wow, how did they ever learn to do that? And then you read about them, and you read about the stories, how they became explorers, and a lot of it is luck. A lot of it is being in the right place, the right time, but there's no pathway to get there, but in this day and age, when we have all the technology and all the tools to learn, and the population base that we have, and so many explorers, and why can't we teach people how to explore? Well, why can't we show them, help them how to connect with the passion that got them into diving? Now, the things that you said, they resonate with me, because that's why I learned to dive. I mean, my parents, my mom and my brother went to Hawaii, and they said, you can either take open water scuba classes, which in 1982 was like in a cold mountain lake in Alberta, Canada.
That's lovely.
Or you can go to Hawaii. Or you can go to Hawaii, right? Well, I've never been the smartest knife in the drawer, sharpest knife in the drawer. So I stayed home to take scuba diving classes, and I was like 18. So that to me was like why I wanted to learn to dive. And so I learned to dive, and one of the dives was diving on a shipwreck. It was a paddle wheel steamer in this cold lake, and it was like, wow, cool. There's pieces of wood there. There's the boiler. That was really cool. So that to me connected with why I wanted to learn to dive. So so through 35 years of diving, whatever, now 38 years or something, whatever it is, I've started to recognize that we need to find a way to as an instructor, it wasn't right for me just to teach people to dive without connecting them to their passion that got them to dive to start with. I didn't feel authentic enough about it, so along the way, you're trying to get people to explore and to go out and use the tools that you've given them, and when you see people that they work up the ladder on different training organizations, and they get to the top, and then they kind of fizzle out, and then they go pick up like snowboarding or something, and they take another sport. And the reason why is because for them, achieving that pinnacle of certification, etc., was what the challenge was. But then no one ever connected that to what got them to start with diving. So along comes the Underwater Archaeological Society of British Columbia, UASBC for short, which I'm going to use from now on. We laughed. Andrew and I were just joking about that, Andy, about how hard that was to say.
No, we did the intro. We said, I'm going to have to read this off the script. I cannot pronounce this. Yeah. This is too long. This is too complicated.
There was no way I was remembering the letters either. I'm impressed you're remembering the letters, to be fair.
It's like hashtag. It's pretty long. But the long story short is, in 1975, this group of divers decided that, and they had all the same passions of what you're saying, and they decided to start surveying and documenting the marine heritage around Vancouver Island in BC. Now, I'm sure that there's a couple places in the world are called this, but there's maps called the graveyard at the Pacific, Vancouver Island, and there is hundreds and hundreds of wrecks around here. We have some of the nastiest waters and lots of little islands. We get some pretty bad weather, and you add like maritime shipping to that, and you end up with a lot of shipwrecks, right? And so we go back a couple hundred years. I mean, it's not like as old as the Mediterranean, but there is just a lot of shipping, and a lot of people zigged left when they should have zigged right. And we have this huge maritime history here. And this is kind of the stopping point from all up the west coast of North America to get to like up to Alaska and everything. You go right on the inside passage through Vancouver Island. So the UASBC, they started to document these shipwrecks, and they had some ties with their provincial government. So the archaeology branch of our government they would do reports and provide marine surveys, document the wrecks, do the research, give all this stuff, prepare reports for the provincial government. And so they were useful, right? Like it wasn't just a bunch of guys going out and taking pictures. Now it's real history, and it becomes part of the archaeological record and maritime record for our country. And so there was a few really, I would say influential people within the organization, and with a voracious appetite for exploration and for documenting this stuff. And so several years ago, I hooked up with some of these because I wanted to dive shipwrecks, and we're on Vancouver Island. I know they're all around me, but where are they? And so I took a couple of NAS courses, Nautical Archaeological Society course from the UK, which were taught by the UASBC here in Canada. So we took those courses so you could learn how to be, kind of helpful. And then they had surveyed most of the wrecks that were within the recreational range, but they didn't have anybody to dive the deeper ones. They know where they are. They've got lots of data on some of these deeper wrecks, but they're outside their depth range, at their comfort level. And so a few of us got together and we made ourselves available to dive some of these wrecks. And I got to tell you a funny story, just won't take me long, but so we go to dive this wreck. We find it's called the Famous, and it's a ship that used to travel up and down the coast here, and it was like fairly deep, 200 and some feet, or like was it 66, 68 meters.
Yeah.
And we dive it, and I get video of this wreck and everything. We presented at their big shipwreck conference, and we're all thinking that we've done a great thing, and everybody's clapping at the end. And I stand off to the stage, and I'm thinking, wow, this is our first real shipwreck. And Jacques Marc, who's one of the really influential and first guys from the UASBC, and who has seen and done more in the underwater archaeological world than anybody that I know, he comes over to me and he's got his arms kind of crossed, and he's kind of quiet, and he looks and he goes, yeah, that wasn't the Famous, right? And we're like, well, what do you mean? And he goes, and he explains the reason why, and all it's all ship terminology and everything. I mean, I was a diving cormorant, right? I go down, take the video, come up, and he goes, yeah, and he explained the reason why. So that turned out to be diving the not so famous, how it ended up. But that was one of the first things we did. So you add all this stuff together. You add the UASBC with all their historical knowledge of where all the wrecks are and all the data. And, for scientists surveying, what's really important is the like the baseline and over time, right? Just like project baseline with GE. Yep. And so what's important is to see it now, and then see it again, and then see it again, and then look for change. And then so they've got all these wrecks, and they try to go back and revisit them. So that's cool. You have like that, but there's also ones they haven't found yet. And so there's ones like, well, we know where they are, and we've been gathering data on them, but now we have to try to go back there and get there. And the problem has always been, resources and logistics and et cetera. And sometimes the depth, and sometimes the location, sometimes the requirement of the dives to do it. It might take you might have to be, you might have to be a little bit more than your average recreational diver to pull it off, because some of them might be fairly sporty dives.
And sorry, guys, it's all cold, I guess, right? Cold water and nasty conditions.
Yeah, 75 to 9 degrees. So it's not super cold, but it's still cold. Cold for you guys.
That's cold, guys.
That is
that's
cold.
It was 22 in the water on Saturday for us. It's cold, right?
Yeah. Well, once you get used to it, it's like, it's the same temperature as, I think, like Sweden and and stuff. But it's temperate. Yeah. But, and so, we started to, get more involved with them. And I thought to myself, it's like, okay, look, why don't we try to work with the UASBC and kind of leverage our relationship, both of us? We can help them, they can help us, we can provide bodies. They have all the cookies in the cookie jar, but they need people to help, right? And then more importantly, how can we gather people involved in this? And it's like, well, I sent out a survey. I think you guys got the survey that it was questions, right?
Yes.
So I sent it out as like asking, you know, like, you know, would you be interested in shipwreck exploration essentially? And what would you, you know, blah, blah, blah. So it was a bunch of kind of marketing type questions, right, to establish interest. And like 98% of the survey, people said, yeah, totally interested. But what was really interesting was in some of the question comments that people gave back, they were, it's like, yeah, you know what, I'm really interested, but that's way above my skill level. And it's like, au contraire, there is for everybody, right? You don't need, you know, we're not all going to be diving the Titanic here. There's how would you ever learn? Like, you guys are experienced divers. I mean, you didn't just flip a coin and develop that overnight, right? You worked your way up, and at some point, you and me, we did our very first dives and put our head underwater the very first time, and we remember how awesome that was. And so all these people that, and they would say, well, you know, that's outside my, you know, my capacity. It's like, well, but there's got to be some shipwrecks that are in like 10 meters of water in nice locations. You can participate, you can be part of exploration, but you do it to the level of your capacity. So because we have this big inventory of shipwrecks, because we have the relationship with the UISBC, because we identify that there's so many people want to do something awesome like this, it's just a question of like sticking the stuff together. And you add an entrepreneur, you know, background like what I've got from my own businesses for a long time, and you go, wow, so what an awesome opportunity to stick everything together. And so, you know, we're hoping to have a pretty decent diving platform, a ship, and then I'm working with the UASBC. They've got a program of, you know, like how to become a archaeologist, and it's similar to the NAS program, except more tailored just specifically for this, for shipwrecks, and then how to do the research and how to do the history and everything. And so imagine you're going to go on a vacation and you could come and actually learn how to do archaeology, and then you can actually go and do some archaeology, and then you could do you know, part of it is you have to have a deliverable at the end if you're going to do science, right? It's, if you're just going to swim around and take pictures, then that's awesome, you know. But if you want to actually contribute something, then you need to do a report at the end. And the UASBC has a kind of a standardized format working with the government to document our shipwrecks where there is the standardized format. And so it's like, wow, well, let's take it then, right? And so you can go and you can learn at the entry level how to do shipwrecks surveys, and, you know, how to do how to find them. So it's basically learn how to be an explorer, and then basically just start exploring, right?
Yeah, how to document all this and stuff.
Yeah. So you guys come. So when can I put you down for?
Well, as soon as the travel restrictions. I tell you what, Guy. I mean, it's when I saw your survey, I did get it through on the email, and I was like, do you know what? This sounds like something that would just, it's right up my alley. You know, when I was growing up and I, you know, deciding what did I want to do in my life, right? You know, where did I want my life to go? And marine archaeology was one of the things that really, really struck a bell with me. I was like, this would be right up my street, what I want to do. It just turned out that later on, I went and actually signed up for, you know, my undergraduate degree was ocean science. And part of that was scientific diving. So learning the techniques back in the UK. So it's under the HSE, the Health and Safety Executive. So, you know, and then I went, okay, great. I've got an ocean science degree. I've got this training to be a, you know, professional scuba diver, where you've got the scientific diving skills. I know how to take water samples. I know how to survey an area. I you know, I've been on survey vessels. Right, I want a job. And it was what you're saying basically that was the biggest problem. It's like, well, okay, I've got the passion, I've got the drive, and I've got some of the skills, but then nobody really sort of pointed me in the right direction. There wasn't an avenue for me to actually start getting in and doing this. And I really found it was one of those things where it was an industry where you got on because you knew somebody. It was really about who you knew, not what you knew, you know, to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And, you know, over the years of teaching diving as well, I've really found, and Andy can say this as well, we teach people, and we were guilty of it in the very start, right? You're keen, you're an instructor, you want to go out and you want to teach, and anybody who walks through that door, you're sort of saying, what do you want to do? How can I help you? How can I teach you? What course can I do? And you're teaching course after course after course. And now we're more into the GUE system with things for training. It's aimed more at the project. So now we actually get students through the door, and we're teaching them a set of skills. And when they're leaving that, they're now leaving us thinking, or saying to us, asking, how do I get involved in these projects? Right? Yeah. And you are dead correct. Not everybody needs to be a CCR mixed gas diver down to 100 meters surveying a wreck in the Mediterranean or in the lakes in Canada. Those dives, yes, they are there and people are doing them. But there are the 20-meter dives on a wreck in the paddle steamer that you learn in the lakes there when you learn to dive. There's those dives. And they're accessible for everybody. And this is what people really fail to see, because it's not highlighted, right? Everybody sees those really exciting projects. You dive the Britannic, you dive the, all those deeper wrecks.
And the submarine.
Yeah. And make these big videos about them. And they don't really highlight, well, I actually dived on this 20-meter wreck and I found out about this history and all sorts of stuff.
So those pinnacle achievements, those big projects and stuff, those are like, that's provides us inspiration, provides us, like the where we want to be, probably, like someone can look at it and go, wow, that's what I want to do. And then you just have to go, okay, well, I'm pretty sure that Sir Edmund Hillary, the first mountain he climbed wasn't Mount Everest. It
wasn't the first mountain he climbed.
Started smaller somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And so where did he start and how did he learn? And how can we facilitate that to help people? And, we've got some awesome courses in GUE, like the documentation diver and science diver. You can totally plug those into stuff like this. And then you just need, like, the big key for us here is the relationship with the UASBC. And I would bet anything that this type of thing exists around the world, where there's other organizations that have all that knowledge that would be more than happy to partner with. And so you look for relationships like that and you build them, and then you can do some pretty amazing things, like some pretty awesome opportunities. I bet you there's stuff like that in Hong Kong, right? I bet you there's people, there's got to be. And so you just find a way to align your passions and your interests with their knowledge, and if everyone comes out ahead at the end, then move the ball forward, right? So
I think they sometimes have the same issue like what we have. We are stuck in our own diving world and they're stuck in their archaeology world. Bringing them together, I think, is bridging the gap here, is what really is the key to make both sides kind of happy and bring people together.
Yeah.
And I think it's great that you had the opportunity to work with them and build this up. So I have a question for you, because everybody will probably ask us is, so if I'm now interested in this, what do I do? Do I just call Guy Shockey and here we go? Or when is it starting?
I've got you down for Friday. Okay, so you better start now.
I'm on a plane.
So, all right. So we're in the infancy of this relationship, and the bunch of documentation was sent off last week to basically get us a big boat, because that's what we need in order to proceed with this. The UASBC is hard at work with the course outline for what we need. The other stuff, where everything is, they've got all that data. We've got that already. I've got the logistical base here, for gas and everything we need, and got experience with doing projects already. So, it's just, the next step is the approval for the boat. And once we have that, then basically, we're looking probably, I was talking to Jacques the other day and I said, probably, like if everything goes according to plan, we'll probably have, some beta classes to do in July. And then, that would, and also we're dealing with a little bit kind of the world is, we need that time anyways, right? Because right now, with all the restrictions for travel and everything like that. But it's starting to look up. There's some light at the end of the tunnel, and like I said to someone the other day, it doesn't look like a train. So that's pretty good if you look at the tunnel. And so the timing, we want to make sure that we have everything squared away before we do it, and with the fact that we don't even have a border open between Canada and the United States right now. So I'm hopeful that it'll be in a couple months when that happens. Lots of people are getting vaccinated, et cetera, et cetera. So once that happens, then there's a lot of people that can come back and forth, and we can do a few beta tests, knock the rough edges off it, and then announce to the world, hey, if you want to come and explore some really cool wrecks on Vancouver Island, come on over.
Yeah.
So you're running this as an introduction course and teach people how to do it, and then also project-based diving after that course. Is that what it is?
Yeah. So, good question, Andy. So basically, the way the structure that we've got kind of laid out right now is there's a couple of days that, and here's something else that's included in this is that, the last year of our world has forced us all to move into the e-learning world and adopt new technologies kind of wholesale. So we can use that to get a lot of knowledge across to people. And so, like a program would look like 2 days of e-learning where you're going to learn taught by UASBC people, like avocational archaeologists that can teach you how to do research, teach you how to do, some of the survey techniques, teach you, et cetera, for Vancouver Island, for BC. Mm-hmm. And then, we need some logistical training and safety and stuff like that, and project management stuff. And then we need a day where we're going to take these archaeological skills that the UASBC has shown you, and then you actually need to take them on board in the water. So we'll do a day of training in the water where we'll actually go and we'll have a fake wreck that we've made in 10 meters of water, and we'll go out and we'll do datum offsets and trilateration and maybe photogrammetry, whatever the project is going to be. And then, right now, we need to go and get kicked out of the nest and go do something. So right now we've got kind of like an idea of it's like a 4 days with 2 days of e-learning and 2 days of actual diving, 1 day it looks like e-learning, 1 day of in the water from shore where you're going to practice and take home these skills, and then 2 days of shipwreck diving where you're actually going to do actual information gathering, data gathering on a shipwreck, and then the last day is going to be report writing. So under the guidance of some of the guys from the UASBC who have been doing, like I have a whole bunch of books here the UASBC has published, and so. And I've got some, authors and stuff to take part of this. And then you generate something that goes to the UASBC and they put it into the provincial government. And now you've been a part of science. And now you have the bare bones knowledge. And then you look at the schedule and you go, okay, this is pretty awesome. When are we going to dive some more shipwrecks? And you look and you see a schedule, and USBC's got a big schedule out, and it's got 15 different projects over the course of the next 12 months. And you look at your capacity and you look at how deep it is and you look at how long it is, look at the dates, and it's kind of like picking a holiday, right? And then you can pick the ones, and then as you get more skills and more capacity, you can, up the ante in terms of how complex the project gets. And the cool thing with the, from the GUE world is that, the baseline of divers is pretty good, right? So,
yeah.
So, you could look at fundamentals divers, you could look at Tech 1 divers, you could look at, there's a wreck out here, probably 15 kilometers from where I'm sitting right now. And it's in about 60 meters of water, and no one's ever dove it because it's a little sporty. It's on the outside of an island. This could be some current, etc. Cold water, but for us, the same temperature as it always is. And I think one person dove it like in the 1950s or something. And that was like a crazy air dive where, nobody remembers what it looked like.
Brave.
So like, seriously, it's that close, right? And it's 100 and some feet. So it's like 35 or 36 meters long, and it's a steamship. And so, I mean, Yeah, so you put this out to the Tech 2 diving crowd, particularly the ones within a couple hundred kilometers of here, and I'm pretty sure there'll be a lineup of people. It's like, cool, I get to use those skills that I learned, and I get to go and dive and do this all, and it's like, yeah, cool. So
Yeah, and you've had a pretty big involvement in the growing of. I mean, GUE are big on the GUE communities.
mhm.
And sort of we're trying to develop a bit of a community over here in Hong Kong with a group of GUE divers, or like-minded divers,
Mhm.
at least. And so you've been pretty big. So you've got quite a pool of divers over there, especially from GUE Seattle, which is one of the biggest um, communities outside of Florida, I believe it is. So what does it take for you to develop a community of divers that just are like-minded? What would you sort of say, tips and
Yep.
hints?
Good question. Yeah, because I get asked that fairly frequently, just because the proof is in the pudding, so to speak, right? You have a um, you have a kind of like a successful community with lots of people, and it's like, well, how did you do that? How did you arrange it? And it's like, so the first thing you need to understand is that you need to check your ego at the door, so to
Yeah,
speak, and it's not about you, and you need to look at it like you're making the analogy is making a bigger pizza. If there's we have, like, I think 5 or 6 instructors within a couple of hundred kilometers of me here right now, and
yeah,
people might go, wow, that's a lot of instructors for this. Like, yeah, well, that's not the way you look at it. If there is a pizza that you want everybody to get a bigger piece of that pizza, you make a bigger pizza. You don't just cut it into smaller pieces. And
yeah,
a lot of people don't have that same mindset. But once you realize that, if you train 4 and then they make 8 and then they make 16, and then it's an exponential growth, and certain people will fall out over time. You have that happen. And but if you keep giving people things to do, and then also you need to let go of authority or leadership, like that's never been my role. I think one time I was the president of GUEBC like 10 or something years ago, but that's not my role. Let someone else carry that torch. Let someone
yeah,
else do that. And then if you get other people involved and you encourage them, and then find things to do, find projects, find ties with different organizations like the USBC, for example, in Seattle. There's multiple different times that we've worked with different groups, and those kind of things are amazing. And then mentorship, huge thing. If you have a night where you have like it's a GUE divers night or something, and it's on Thursday night, the thing, and you bring in some new people show up, it's like, hey, so what are you guys doing? It looks like you're involved in a lot of projects. The experienced divers can't just go and dive with the other experienced divers. It's like, what you need to do is somebody who's climbed Mount Everest takes the new guys that are going to climb the hill in the backyard under their wing, and you go diving together and you
yeah,
help them. And before you ever ask for anything, I learned this a long time ago from a really a successful business person. He goes, before you ask for anything, you need to give something away. So before like before I ever taught a class in Seattle, I went down and did a free demo night to a whole bunch of people. And we just did a bunch of skills and had fun. And I, carried the GUE flag and told them a bunch of stuff about GUE and got everybody interested. And the next thing you know, there's 5 people that were interested in a class. And then the ball just started rolling. We made another 1 instructor, and then now there's 3 instructors, and everybody's busy. And then we realized that we needed a new home base, so we started a business there, the dive shop. And the dive shop is like it was never intended to be a dive shop. It was intended to be the home base with a couch in it, there are a couple of couches and a TV that people come and hang out at. And so even though it's a GUE dive shop, it's also a clubhouse,
yeah,
and it's not just for GUE divers either. And that's another thing too, is that if you're just preaching to the choir all the time, you're not going to get much traction. So if someone comes around and they're interested and they're not GUE divers, well, there's your opportunity to explain to people about all the awesomeness, the things that we can do. So
yeah, I mean, it's certainly, I mean, things we need to do, and Andy and I are looking at building the community more, and developing and growing it, because like you say, it's about basically essentially about sharing everything. And when you have more people involved that are like-minded, they're on the same mindset, that pathway, then you can get a lot more done, right? You can go and do those more exciting those projects that everybody talks about, and whether they're exploration or whether they're conservation projects. People want to get involved, and that's really what we're seeing now. And it's a good thing. It's really, really good that the trend for us in the past couple of years has been, let's focus on just banging out the courses and one after the other, and what's the next course we can sell this guy. It's like, actually, what can we get this person involved in that's going to benefit the community, benefit the industry as a whole, and then and grow it from there. And of course, then after that, well, there's projects externally of Hong Kong as well. There's places like what you've got going on in Canada. There's Mexico, there's Florida, there's the UK or Europe, UK. There's projects everywhere, and you get to go away and do this with a group of people who So it's a bit like you're going away with your mates, and you're having a good time, and you're getting something worthwhile done, which is putting a bit more emphasis on that holiday diving trip. We've been over the years, let's go to the Philippines for a week of diving. Okay, we go, we have fun, we go diving, and we have some great times. But if you can go away and actually achieve something with that dive, with those people, and still have good fun, then that's really the goal, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, everybody, you want to do something when you're diving, and you want to, you want to be part of something, and like you said, I mean, it sounds like you're well on your way to growing the community, etc. And the cool thing, I mean, I think what you're doing with this podcast is terrific, because you're connecting people around the world.
I just want to say, Guy, have your lights gone off?
You're fading in the dark, really.
Have you not paid your electricity bill again?
Hang on a sec, we can fix that.
I think it's gradually getting darker and darker.
It's getting dark.
I know we're 15 hours ahead of you, but that's just
well, it's about 7:45 on the west coast of Canada.
Right? It got dark quick in Canada.
Yeah, I know. I was starting to look, and I'm being lit by my own screen, right?
Yeah, I was like, your face is getting closer and closer to the screen to light up. Can you see me?
Yeah. So I think what you guys are doing is awesome. I mean, there's always, I'm a kind of glass half full kind of guy, and the last year, even though it's been challenging and terrible toll on human life and misery and suffering, I see that and I go, okay, well, has there been anything good from it? And it's pretty hard to find something, but the connectedness that we're making, that we probably would never have done through stuff like, I participated in a few different podcast interviews and stuff for people that I never would have talked to, like dive shows that are digital, that are done in somewhere else in the world, that talking with a group of people, and it's like, well, that's kind of cool. So again, glass half full, I mean, and I really hope that we take some of this with us, and we keep it, and
I think this is here to stay. This sort of use of technology, I think we're just going to evolve with it now. I mean, it's here. We know we've been using it for over a year, and I know for myself, I certainly am looking at when it returns to something vaguely normal, or whatever that normal is going to be like. Then we take parts of this certainly with us, and that connectivity that we can get. I mean, we can, previously we wouldn't necessarily have done this, right? And had a conversation across continents and stuff.
Yeah,
but it works. It works as well. I mean, people find out that what we're doing right now works, and life goes on, business goes on. That's the interesting thing. I mean, if you had told me, last year in February, over a year ago, that this is how we would start to work, and it actually still continues, and still people are doing the things they want to do and can do. It's quite impressive what, how this whole thing changed. And I agree with Andrew. It's going to stay. It's not going to go away completely.
Yeah.
We've learned from it. Yeah.
Humans are infinitely adaptable, right? I mean, we're that the whole of that's what it all comes from. And sadly too, when you look at the I think some of the biggest strides in technological advancements and et cetera have been at times where there's been like war, and I mean you could argue that that's what's happened over the last years. And so we've made these incredible strides, and you move forward, and 200 years from now, if people look back and read history books and read about all the change that happened in 2020, and there'll be the part of it that talks about all the terribleness, but then there'll be the part that it was the leapfrog, all these things that happened. I mean, I enjoyed the heck out of watching, the SpaceX stuff and the other day I was sitting outside in the backyard. It was clear, and I've got a hot tub out back, and I was sitting out there, and I looked up and I saw this string of Pearl satellites going over, and I thought, wow, that's SpaceLink. Like that's like all these satellites. And I was thinking, well, there's quite a few there because they've been going over for like minutes and minutes. And then I started looking, it's like 900, and that's only part way there. And then I remember, last year, probably something that almost brought tears to my eyes was watching the Dragon launch, where the guys went up, the first 2 humans went up to the space station, right?
Yeah.
I just thought to myself, wow, we are awesome. Humans are awesome that we can do stuff like that. And now all the Starship, like all the private space stuff I watch, every time I've got on my phone, it's like, okay, when's the next launch schedule? It's like, oh, bummer, so close.
Yeah. Look at the images we got from Mars.
Then I look, and it's like blows up 8 minutes later. It's like, well, you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how all of this develops in the next few months, years to come. I mean, there is light at the end of the tunnel, hopefully. And what I'm looking forward to is basically sitting in that sofa at the back you've got there, and having a go on one of your guitars, because oh, by the way, I can't play guitar. That's just
don't let that get in the way of having a good time.
Having a good time. I mean,
we've got some drums over here for Andy too, so we'll have a band.
Yeah.
Either you guys sing?
Not that you'd want to hear.
Again, don't let being skilled.
I sing really well after a few beers, Guy.
Yeah.
At least that's what I think I do.
We can pull that off too.
Yeah. Well, Guy, I think that's great. I mean, we thank you for coming along and giving up your time and having a chat with us. It's always great, and no doubt in all of these podcasts that we got coming up, we'll invite you back, because you've got some amazing stories to tell. I can't wait personally to sign up to one of your courses over there.
Yep.
And that's not shallow words. That is genuine. I got your survey through, and I was like, this is what I want to be doing. This is why.
I wouldn't look at it so much as a course as an opportunity to go wreck diving, and exploration and stuff like that. And if what I have to do is come up with a way to fund it so that I can go do this exploration stuff, well, then I'll do it. Right. I have my own, businesses and did everything for a long time. And so I've already kind of done that. Now I just want to do stuff that I want to do. And I want to go exploration. I want to dive all these wrecks that are around here. For the last 10 or so years, I've been doing lots and lots of teaching with GUE. And now it's like, I'm not looking at the front half of my life anymore. I'm looking at the back half, and I want to make sure that it's filled with adventure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's great that you still got the passion for that, and you haven't forgotten why you got into this in the first place, right? I mean, that does you right at the start of this. You're dead correct that a lot of people forget that, and they get tied up in the course after course after course. And actually, they've never done a fun dive. And then you say, people, how many dives have you done? Well, I've done 30 dives. Okay, that's good. That's a decent amount, right? That's not to be sniffed at. Okay, how many dives did you do for yourself? None. I did my open water course, I did my advanced, I did my rescue, and now I'm a dive master. Whoa, wait a minute, So these things, it's great that there are so many projects going around the world, and that's what we want to have, these conversations with people like yourself, so that people can get exposure to this, right? They can go, wow, that's out there, and then hopefully that drives up the interest levels, and people start recognizing and signing up for it, and getting involved, and doing what we wanted to do with all of this, right?
Well, I mean, we can do the same. I mean, you look at the guys in Mexico. I mean, every other day they're going finding new cave and exploring, and it's like, well, it's Thursday night. What are we doing? Well, we're going to go dive a cave we've never dove before. And we can do the same thing here on Vancouver Island with shipwrecks. There's more shipwrecks than I can dive in my lifetime. And we've got a project with some guys from up in Alaska. We're going to go dive a wreck up in Alaska. This sounds pretty sporty. It's like 18 hours of boat ride to get to it. And this is going to be in August, but this is like, it looks pretty cool. So that'll be fun. I'll talk to you about that as long as I make it back.
Yeah, absolutely. Would be great to have you on and talk about that one. Well, next time I get to come over, and I know I was supposed to come over in the last summer, but that's, and then Christmas, and then that's just all sort of gone down. But hopefully I get to actually come over, and Andy's going to come and do some stuff and do some dives over there. Awesome. Just make sure you got those heated vests for us, right? I mean, we're
Andy, bring some gloves, buddy.
Bring some gloves, right? We need gloves, and learning how to operate the bolt snap with a glove on. It's like, well, where's my hat?
It was really cool. Today I got an email from a GUE instructor who's from Florida and then lives in Mexico, and he's doing a Cave 1IE here coming up in the not distant future. And he asked me, he said, I'd like to do Tech 2. And I said, so where do you want to go? And he goes, I think I'd like to come up there, someplace other than 80-degree water, so 23-degree water in someplace south. And I was like, yeah, good on you, And there's another instructor did the same thing. He had never dove, I don't think, in the cold water before. And so he came and did a Tech 1 class, and then he did a fundamentals IE exam, and he'd never worn like gloves and a heavy undergarment and stuff before. And he was like, yeah, you know what, got to be able to do this. And it won't take you that long, a couple of days with heavier equipment and stuff, and then you'll be good, right?
Yeah.
And then you find it's got its own charm.
I think I do think it's important that if we are to promote this level of diving and awareness about everything, then we should be aware. We should actually test it, right? I mean, that's why I wanted to come over to you and do my Tech 1 ITC and stuff, because it's important. It's important to have that experience and to go, yes, actually, I know I can do it, right? And be trained by people who, trained by people who really know how to do it, right? You go to Mexico if you want to do cave training, or Florida, because these guys, they dive caves, right? You come to you, for example, if you want to dive cold water. Right?
We have caves here on Vancouver Island, and I'll be the first to admit that I'm not like a real huge cave diver guy, but I haven't even actually dove them. But guys dive them every summer when the conditions allow. But there's some pretty awesome caves here.
Wow.
So,
yeah. All right. Well, I mean, that's great, Guy. And thank you very much again for your time. And we will definitely have you back on. And I can't wait to come back over there to do some diving with you and catch up again over a few beers or so.
Yeah, it was great to see you guys. We don't have to make a podcast to visit like this, right? And we can have the beers while we're doing the podcast.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Online, right?
Even a better idea.
Let's get Kelvin involved too.
Yeah,
and we can
absolutely.
Sing. Oh yeah.
Yeah, we'll get Kelvin involved. I'm sure he'll love it. He'll love this. This is what it is.
He would run away from
He's
the
Mr. Podcast guy.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Thanks for the invite, guys. Great to see you both.
Thank you, guys. Take care.